Thanks, Kirsty, and welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about how to track campaigns in Google Analytics. And here we have the quick agenda that we cover. So we just start with a quick introduction on what is it. So what are the UTM parameters and how Google Analytics is using the UTM parameters to figure out what channel is coming in. And then we'll have like a bit more practical thing where we just see on how you could use UTM for your email campaigns, for paid campaigns, for social media campaigns, and for offline campaigns. So the first thing is why do we need campaign tagging? So in order to evaluate the performance that you have in your marketing initiative and therefore the return on investment, it would be really important for you to know the source of your traffic. So knowing from where the users are coming from, what they do on site, did they convert, did they do what you were expecting them to do, did they purchase? So by doing proper tagging, you can identify the different touch points prior to a conversion, prior to a purchase, and you will be able to pinpoint what's working versus what is not. Then you can inform your strategies and find where to invest your effort or where to not invest your effort and improve your overall return on investment. So how does that look into Google Analytics? For those who are not too familiar with Google Analytics, this is just like the overview. And basically Analytics has a built-in campaign tracking system, and it that use UTM, some parameters that will be used to know in which channel, from which channel your user was coming from. So here you have the example of the different channels. So unless you have, so there is like some automated tracking in place, but unless you do proper UTM tagging for your campaign, so where you will spend money, you may miss very important and valuable information. So here is just an example of mistakes that I currently see with my clients, like the different mediums that causes most of the trouble. So the first one will be email. So by default, if you don't do anything in your email and you have links pointing to your website, in Google Analytics, it will appear as direct. Google is not handling that, and it cannot automatically figure out that it's coming from an email. And it's the same with print. So if you have like your QR tags in magazines or even reels in magazines, if you don't have a proper tagging, it will also appear as direct, because ultimately people will just type the URL in their browser and access your site. So we won't be able to make the difference between direct traffic, so people directly accessing your site, from the one coming from email or the one coming from print. Then another big one would be on social media. And I focus a bit more on social media in this presentation due to the people that usually come to Travel Massive, and Facebook and Instagram. So if you don't do anything particular, you won't be able to see the difference between your organic post in Facebook versus the one that you have boosted, where you spend money to increase the visibility of your campaigns, and the same with Instagram. And both will be ending in the referral channel. So you won't be able to see what's difference between the organic and the paid, and therefore what is your return on investment for those. So there are in total there are 5 UTMs parameters. So UTM stand for Urchin Tag Monitor. So that's why I put the nice picture with the otter and the urchins. So you have 5 parameters, which are source, medium, campaign, content, and term. So those 5 parameters are things that you will append at the end of the URL. So whenever someone is clicking on that link with those parameters, Google Analytics will be able to identify from where they were coming, how they came, and which campaign. So here I just gave you an example. So this is a URL pointing to In Marketing with Trust website. And you can see everything in orange here. It's just like the 5 parameters that I've added. So when someone is accessing my site through that URL, I will know that the source is TML as Travel Massive Live. The medium will be the presentation, because it's a presentation that I'm doing. The campaign, well, I just put my name because I like to use easy campaign names. And then the content, slide 9, and UTM. And then in Google Analytics, I will be able to break that down and see actually how many people came through that particular link. So now what is the source? So you have 5: source, medium, campaign, term, and content. So we start with source. So source is basically who is sending you the traffic. So I gave you like a few examples here. So the first one is me posting an article on LinkedIn. I published one of the articles we put on our blog of me speaking. When people will click on that and access the site, the source will be LinkedIn, because that's who sent where the link was, basically. Then you have the example, for instance, on the right with Google. So you have on the top like the Google ads, and on the bottom the organic results. When people are clicking to one of those links, the source will be Google. Then the medium will be on where the link was physically included. So where and how the user find you. So for instance, on LinkedIn, that will be considered as referral. So it's a website referring my own website, and ultimately it will be referral. For email, my medium will be the email. And then for Google, the medium will be, if it's an ad, it will be CPC. And if it's the organic result, that would be organic. Then the third parameter that we'll have will be campaign. So campaign is for you to put the name of the campaign that you are running at the moment. So here, first example, it's not a campaign. That's just me publishing something on LinkedIn. So I didn't put a campaign. But then in my email, for instance, what we've done is that we use the campaign parameter to differentiate the different people within the team. So for instance, if you click on a link from my signature, the campaign will be banned. But if Kirsty is sending you an email and you click on her link, that will be her name, Kirsten. And then in Google, if it's an organic result, you don't have any campaign. But if it's one of your ad that is showing up, and when the user will click, the campaign name, so the one that you define in Google Ads, will appear in that particular UTM. And then you have the two others, which are content and term. So for paid campaign, the term will be the keyword itself, and the content will be the different creative that you are using, for instance. But I would recommend that you focus, to me, the three first are the most important. So source, medium, campaign, because source and medium will be the two UTMs parameters that will define the channel in Google Analytics, and the campaign will be where you put the name of your campaign. The two others, term and content, will be just for you to use in case you need more granularity. So for instance, if you have different terms within your email all linking to your website, you could use the UTM term as all the anchor that you have on your text. Or content will be to make the differentiation between links on images versus link on text, for instance. So how does that appear within Google Analytics? So like I was telling at the beginning, Google Analytics is grouping into channels, but channels are just a more friendly way of saying source medium, basically. So for every single source medium, there are rules that are applied, and with which Google Analytics will categorize it into one of those 9 channels. So the 9 channels are direct, organic search, social, email, affiliates, referral, paid search, other advertising, and display. So here I just, this is the 9 channels, and with the rules and some examples of how Google Analytics will decide if that particular session is to be classified in one of those channels. So let's take a few examples, like for instance, organic search. Any traffic, any session that is coming with UTM medium organic will be categorized as organic search. Or any person coming with UTM medium email will be classified as email. So if you are launching a new campaign and you want anyone coming from that campaign to end into the affiliate channel in Google Analytics, it means that when you will decide your UTM, you will choose UTM medium affiliate. And the thing is, if you don't match with any of those 9 channels rule, you will end up in the other channel. So if you access your analytics and you see that you have a lot of traffic getting in that particular channel, it means that the UTMs that you are using are not matching with the existing rule of Google Analytics. This is just like 3 examples. So we have a tool which is called Check My Analytics. If you have already a Google Analytics property, I invite you just to test. We'll run some tests on the settings that you've set for your property. And in that website, we have a link to the main site, which is In Marketing We Trust. And if people are clicking there, the UTM, we have 2 UTMs, will be the source, which will be my current site, which is checkmyanalytics.com, and the medium would be referral, because that website is referring the other one. So in analytics, if I look at the In Marketing We Trust analytics, that session will appear in referral channel. If my user is typing in Google and is searching for In Marketing We Trust, and then click on an organic link, in Google Analytics, it will automatically appear as organic search. Source will be Google and the medium will be organic. But if you receive the mail from me and you have the signature and you click at the bottom here, you have a link to the In Marketing We Trust website. There are actually 3 parameters: the source, medium, and campaign, which are the medium is email, and therefore everyone that click here will appear as coming from email in Google Analytics. So basically you have 2 choices here. Either you stick with the existing rules, so you have those 9 channels that exist, and you just map out your UTMs to fit into one of those 9 channels, or you create your own rules. So there is a way in Google Analytics to adapt the channel grouping rules, and just either adapt the existing one or create a new channel. So for instance, if you want a channel for print, you could create a new channel for which any session with a UTM medium that is print will appear in that channel. Before you start playing and creating all those UTM, I always recommend to start by defining a naming convention that everyone within your team will be using, and also to ensure that you will always kind of name the campaign the same way, or yeah, because consistency and accuracy will be like really key here. So here are some examples of the rules that I often give my clients. First would be like always use the basic Latin alphabet, because any special character will be encoded in analytics, so it will appear a bit strange into analytics, or even worse, it can also impact the way the data is collected. So I always say like just stick to the Latin alphabet, and then don't use any special character or white spaces. Then Google Analytics is case sensitive. So if you use as source Facebook with a capital letter or Facebook all in lowercase, in Google Analytics, it will appear as 2 different sources. So what I say to my clients, like always use lowercase for everything. Like this, you're sure you are not just fragmenting your data because someone just add Facebook with a capital letter. Then in terms of how you name your campaigns across all channels, even if it's like Google Ads or if it's on Facebook or it's on LinkedIn, make sure that you have kind of a naming convention across all the campaigns that you have. So usually, especially if they are date sensitive, I recommend to put the date within the name of the campaign and the region targeted. If you have like particular region or even in a particular audience, I will also put it in the name of the campaign. But make sure that you have campaign names that make them distinguishable from the others. And then, yeah. So once you have your naming convention, what you can start creating your own UTMs. So there are tools that exist. So I give you like one Chrome extension here that you can just add in your browser, and then you can create your own URL. Or you have the Google Dev Tools, which is also, so you just put the 5 parameters and it will append it to at the end of the URL. But I recommend to use one single document where you list all your campaigns and all the links that were, all the links that were used for your campaigns in one single place. So everyone that is doing some tagging within your team can see, for instance, in that document, that's where you will put also your naming convention and the different roles that you will have. So having everything in one single place may just ensure stability and consistency in your tagging. I will just switch. I will just show you a bit of how the template work. So we'll be sharing that template with you just after this presentation if you want to use it. So basically, I have like one tab where I define the rule. So anyone within the team that is supposed to do some tagging will have to follow whatever rules you put here. So that's the same rules that I put in the presentation. Then here you can see I put that table where I just force myself to verify that any source medium that I have is landing in the right channel that I want. So for instance, Facebook social will automatically end up in social. I'm okay with that. But for instance, magazine and print, I have to make sure that the channel is actually existing in Google Analytics. So by doing that, that pair here, source medium and the channel, you will make sure that you either fit with the existing rule or create your own channels. And then basically on how it works is that you just put the URL, so destination URL that you want. So in that case, I would just put the website in Marketing with Trust. Then you choose the medium. So you have like the list of existing medium. So this is like the exhaustive list, but if you change or delete some of the medium here, people will only be able to select the one that exists. So in that case, I want to create, for instance, I want to put a link in one of my next email. So basically, I will use the medium, where is it? I cannot see, email. Then the source is because it's a newsletter, for instance, that I'm writing. And then the campaign name is, I know that my naming convention is the campaign name, and then, I don't know, the date, and then the year, just to give you an example. And then automatically it will create, so you can see in the column I, it will create the URL with the right UTMs, and that's the one that I will copy and put within my email. An easy way of testing if your tagging is right is just open by just opening the URL. So here is like if someone clicked on that URL, so the access to the website, and you can see here you have the 3 parameters because I only use medium, source, and campaign. And if I go in my Google Analytics, which is the one corresponding to that website, I can see in the real-time report, I can see who's coming, and I can see here. So someone came from the medium, email, and the newsletter. So my tagging is properly working. And since I'm using email as a medium, it will end up categorized as email in different channels. Let's just go back to the presentation. So here I would just give you some examples of how to track things. So this is for emails. So the very important thing for email is you need to choose the right landing page. It seems obvious, but before you put UTMs everywhere, make sure that the landing page where you are targeting, like where people will land on your site, are optimized and will push people to convert on your site. Then you define the UTMs, you generate them using your template that I just sent you, and then you just copy paste the link across and you just put that in your email. So here it's just to give you, this is just an example. For any link that I want in my email, the only constant that I have, the thing that I have to make sure is that the medium is email lowercase. If I do that in analytics, it will be classified as email channel. And then I use the source, the campaign, content, and term just to give granularity and for me to be able to report on each type of email. So for instance, here I made the difference between the newsletter and special offer. In my campaign, I decided to put like I was saying, like the time. So here the year and the month and the targeted region. And then for that particular email, I have 3 different links because I have one which is on the text, one which is on my banner, and one which is on my footer. And I want to make the differentiation in analytics to see on how many people actually clicked in the text, how many people click on the image, and how many people click on the footer to see what's working the best. And then I can even add more granularity on defining the exact anchor in which the link was. So for instance, that link would be, in my email, I talked about Paris, and I put the link on the word Paris, and I want to compare that with another link that I put in the text. I can just put the anchor on which one the link was, on which the link was. And then for my special offer, here I just, because I created 2 emails for my special offer, and I want to see which one worked the best and which one is driving more conversion than the other. So it's more like a A/B testing here, where I just say variation 1 and 2. So I can see on how many people came from that variation from the other, and then just compare the performance. Then if I look at paid campaigns, so here I just took Google Ads and Bing because that's the most commonly used. You have auto tagging feature in both tools, and I really invite you I recommend you to use this auto tagging. It will automatically populate those 5 parameters, so source, medium, campaign, content, and term. Integration, especially for Google Ads and Google Analytics, the integration is like native because it's both Google products. But if you really want to go down the road of manually tagging everything, you can use like templates on the scripts in Google and just generate your own UTMs. But I really recommend you to stick with the auto tagging. For social media, like I was saying, if you don't do anything, both organic and both boosted article or sponsored article where you spend money on it will appear as referral traffic in Google Analytics. But in Facebook, when you are creating your ads, at the ad level, you have this section, which is the tracking, where you can set those 5 parameters. So here I just give you an example of what I'm using for most of my clients. So I have a fixed source and medium. So my source is Facebook, my medium is CPC. And then you can see here you have like a curly bracket. This is actually a variable. So it will be replaced by the name of my Facebook campaign, or by the name of my ad set, and here by the name of the ad itself. So then I can apply that template across all my ads, and it will automatically change the campaign name, the ad set, and the ad. So in Google Analytics, I can make the differentiation. But because I created the new pair source medium, So I have like Facebook CPC. If I don't do anything because of my CPC, it will end up in my channel paid search. So what I need to do in that particular case is to create a new channel in Google Analytics, which is paid social, which will take any session with the medium equal CPC and the source equal, like there you just list all the list of the social media that you are using. And then anything that is coming from there will be ending in the right channel. For Instagram, it's a bit different because it's more manual, since that, well, you need to choose your landing page as any other campaign, then create your UTMs. But I recommend that you generate more legible URLs, especially for Instagram. People will tend to not click if they see the URL with all the UTM appended, everything. You have like tools, Bitly is free, but then you have other where you can choose the type of link, and then you integrate that shortened URL within your ad. So here is just an example. So that I generated where I used the source Instagram, and then my medium CPC, and then my campaign is Bain campaign. Then I shorted in it. So this URL becomes that. And that's the URL that I will put in my Instagram story. So when people will click, so we'll just give you the example here. So we access the Bitly URL, but then you can see it has changed, and now I have the right source, the medium, and the CPC. So people that will come through that click will be tagged as paid social in my own analytics. So it's the same than for if you have a lot of activity on social media, like paid activity, I would recommend you have like a dedicated channel just for that. And then the last one will be for print. So it's a bit like print will be, you have to make sure that the URLs is either shortened or encoded. So here you have like the two examples. So this is like just the shortened URL, or you have a QR code so people can just scan it and then they will automatically be redirected to your site. And then you have to make sure, so here is the UTMs. So I created magazine and then medium print. You have to make sure that you create a new channel in Google Analytics called print or magazine or something that's relevant to the format and where this link will be placed, and then just create the new rule. So this is just the things that you need to check. So like I was showing you just before, every time that you generate a new URL with the 5 UTM parameters, just test it. So I would just show you again. It's just when you, can I just, yeah. So for instance, here I just reaccess that page. If I go in my analytics and I go in the real-time report, I will be able to see that my medium and my source. So this is like the real time. So it's like me on site. So you can even break down by country. If you have a lot of traffic, it's usually how I do. And then you can see and verify your own that it's properly working. Sorry, just to go back. Then in Google Analytics, always look at the two channels which are other and direct. So direct will be because you forgot to tag your, no, it's not here, because you forgot to tag your campaign, where other is because the rule, like the UTMs that you've been using, is not matching with any of the channel. So if you run a campaign, just make sure, like in the first day or the 2 first days, that you are actually properly tracking that in GA and it occurs in the right channel. A mistake that I see a lot also is in promotions, like internal promotions that people have on site. and sometimes they put UTMs. It's forbidden, and you should never use UTM tagging on internal linking. The thing is, it will fake traffic on your own property. So basically, by anyone already on your site clicking on that link will restart a new session, because the source and the medium will be different from the first session. So you are just like generating fake traffic. So never use UTM parameters for internal links. And then, yeah, let's try to be as simple as possible. So usually what I say is, like, if it's just links that are on other websites, it will be picked by Google Analytics as referral. So just be lazy, and sometimes if you do like link building, for instance, I wouldn't bother putting UTMs on those links, because anyone coming to your site will be tagged as referral automatically. And then be careful, the last point is be careful with URLs that already have a parameter or have been hashed, because if there is already a parameter, so here is an example where I have already the P parameter, which is my parameter, you need to append the UTM parameters afterwards, just by starting with the end character. So if you use a template like the one that I had shown you before, that will be automatically handled. But if you do by yourself manually, just make sure that you verify that. But then if you click on that and you verify in Google Analytics, you will see if there is an error. So that's the last slide, the conclusion. So Google Analytics is able to track some of the traffic automatically. So like I was saying, the referral, for instance, or organic will be easy to track for Google, but anything coming from paid or email or print, you will have to define your own tags. And that goes like, so there are 5 UTM parameters that you have to append at the end of the URL: the source, the medium, the campaign, the term, and the content. And based on the 2 first ones, source and medium, Google Analytics will classify your traffic into channels. So you have either to stick to the rules, so make sure that source and medium are the right fit for the rules that exist, or you create new channels. For Google Ads, always use auto tagging, unless you have like a very, 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 very good reason and you have a very good knowledge of how to do manual tagging. But don't over complexify things when you can just use the integration that already exists. And then make sure that you have naming convention that is shared across all the people in your team, and test and validate. The worst thing is having a campaign and just forgot the tags and then trying to report on it, and it just doesn't appear in analytics because we forgot the UTMs. And that's all for me. So we'll be sharing the presentation recording and the templates too. But if you have any question, don't hesitate to contact me personally. So you have here my contact details. And here we are. Do we have any questions?
Thanks so much, Ben. Okay, so we'll move on to questions now. So if you have a question you'd like to ask Ben, just type it into the chat box below and we'll get back to you. So first, Damien is thanking you and saying that was great, very useful. Ian is asking, I see some websites such as producthunt.com using a !ref equals product hunt tracking scheme. Have you seen this, and does GA support it?
So I haven't seen, I mean, that one in particular, but a lot of websites use their own tracking system. So for instance, Google Ads is actually not using UTMs. Google Ads is using gclick ID. So there are a lot of parameters like this that you can have appearing in your Google Analytics, and it really depends on the tool or the website. If you don't want that to pollute your Google Analytics, you should be filtering that out. So you have special filters that can remove every single parameters that are being added at your URL. So in that particular case, I will just either at the view level, you can prevent that parameter to appear or have a filter. But analytics is just using those five UTM parameters for the classification.
Okay, Ian's just following up saying we use short.cm to host our own short URL for Travel Massive under tmsv.co. We often set up campaigns and create clean short links that then link to the full URL with UTM underscore campaign parameters. Is this a strategy that you recommend? And he's saying, sorry, Kirsty, for making you read that out.
Okay, can you just repeat? I'm not sure of
no, you're making me repeat it now.
So they have generated UTMs, I mean URLs with the UTMs, and then shorten them and then use those shortened links in whatever places they put the links, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes, because it's proven that the longer your URL is, independently of the parameters, the less clicks you will get. So if your URLs is endless because of the architecture of your site, and then you add parameters, people will not click by themselves, and it will be easier for them to click if they have shortened URLs. If you have, and you do a lot of campaigns where you need to shorten that URLs, I would recommend to pay for a solution where you could actually change and choose the name of this shortened URL. So for instance, American Express is doing that. So for every single link that they have, the shortened URL will be amex.co. And independently of what the link is or what the landing page is or what, it will be always the same with a small ID behind. So you could choose your own brand name for all your shortened link. So if it's a lot of campaigns, I would recommend to just choose your brand, put your brand name in the shortened link.
Okay, great, awesome. So we've gotten a few thank yous there, but it looks like that's probably the end of the questions. Yep, another thank you. So, okay, so thanks again for joining us today, everyone. And as Ben said, if you think of any more questions you'd like, you can email Ben at benoit@inmarketingwetrust.com.au. And of course, if you'd like some help with your digital marketing or analytics, you can email me at kirsten@inmarketingwetrust.com.au. So I'll be sharing the slides, webinar recording, and a link to our template that Ben showed in the presentation then really soon. So look out for an email from me in the next day or two. So thanks again, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.